Brothers and sisters, welcome back to another episode of Work, Life, Play, where we are on a hunt. A hunt to find it more. We want it all. We want soulful work. We want meaning, purpose, joy. We want relationships with deep intimacy and connections. We want work that matters. We want to contribute to something more than just getting a paycheck. And we want to find ways to build adventure into our life. And adventure can be as simple as like you walk down the sidewalk, and I did hopscotch the other day. In the COVID world that we're living in, some kids had gone through and done chalk on the sidewalk and made hopscotch. And like adventure and play is just living with a young heart. And so in that, my joy today is to introduce you to what I'm going to call an episode on Finding Neverland with Jeff Nelson. And why Finding Neverland? Because I feel like Jeff's world has a degree of magic in it that we would all benefit from more of. So what you're going to find in this episode today is Jeff is an amazing musician and just released a new album that you can find his work. I've been listening to it on Spotify. I'm sure it's many other places. And it's just really great storytelling with a guitar and some great vocals. So he pulls off a one-man show for us on this episode. And we riff in between dialogue about finding meaningful work. What do we do when the day job maybe that we have isn't bringing us the Yahoo that we long for, but it's fulfilling a specific need in our life: food, clothing, shelter, and predictability and security. And at the same time, we have this thing in us that we're trying to figure out a way to get out. And that's what Jeff does for us today. So really enjoy, settle in. I definitely would recommend, like, this is a good one to find some space to take it in and listen to his tunes, listen to him live, and then go check out his music, as I said, on Spotify earlier. So we're going to talk about destinations unknown. We're going to talk about how to fail a lot more, about how to live, like, how do we move from fragmented to integrated? And how do we find Neverland? How do we find a degree of magic in our life that allows that inner 8-year-old in us to come alive?
So I have a construction career, and I started off as a general contractor building for people, and also being a construction consultant, giving people like advice on how to, build something correctly if they didn't want to hire a general. And then just this year I bought a plumbing company. And so now I'm running both of them kind of side by side. And it's great because the plumbing company is busy all the time and general contracting isn't. But I have a passion to be a musician and to write and to get some music into ears of other people that can actually affect them. But my life is so fragmented because when I get in the work van and I'm driving, it's completely like checked out that I'm even a musician.
Since you're already geared up, ready to go, you mind if we just jump right into being a musician?
I would love it.
Dealer's choice, whatever tune you want to fire up first.
Sweet. So the whole story about the album was I wrote it during a time when my career, being self-employed, was completely crashing. I had a job sign up, and the client had called 2 weeks before the start date. Everybody's lined up, and he just said, "We're not doing it anymore." And it was a big hit to my system and my wife's system. And I locked myself in my garage for 2 weeks, and I hadn't written a song in 4 years. And all of a sudden, stuff started coming out, and I just was very, very passionate about what I was writing. And one of the first ones that came out of that was the song I wrote about my son called "See You Through." afraid this life we made might change. Even now, you wake me when I'm dreaming. I get right up, I'm tired, but I'm with you. I will see you through. I will see you through. When there's time we can't be together, there are tears and I tell you to stop. Thinking now, I'm writing as you're sleeping, that crying means you want to be with me. I will see you through. 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 I'm afraid the little things go away. Your words are getting clearer every day. The little one, I know that you can't stay. As long as you are here, I need you to know I will see you through. I will see you through. I will see you through. I will see you through.
Brother, so good.
Thanks,
How's that
man.
feel to beat on the git fiddle?
Oh my gosh, so good.
I'm curious about, I love the song. I wrote down some of the lyrics here on my notes. So if that was born from locking yourself in the garage, and that was the first song that your heart had to sing, what does that tell you about you and your son?
What it tells me is that I have a dichotomous relationship with work, with play, and with family, because I have to work to make money. I have to work to bring it home to make us survive. But when I'm at work, I feel like I'm neglecting my kids. And when I'm home with them, I don't feel guilty that I'm not at work, but it's something that I just have to do. And so the song came from this fear that I'm going to be working so hard to do the provision, and I'm going to miss all of the things that are so small and special about kids. And like, I'm afraid that I was afraid that I'd become the guy that would look back when his kids were 16 and be very tearful that they think about the things that they missed because they were busy trying to make it work. And so I am in this multiple personality relationship with wanting to just be home and figuring out, how can I live on the least amount possible so that I can do this thing well and still survive without my wife or me feeling like the absolute pressure of debt and absolute pressure of success like looming over me, and feeling more like, no, I don't have to be the best, the greatest. I want to be those and something else. And those things that I want to be the best and greatest at is going to be fatherhood, in musicianship, and friendship. And I want to make sure that like somebody can say, oh, but don't you want to be the best contractor? I feel very highly about the way that I do my job, but I don't think I ever want to be known as that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious for you as you walk this tightrope of, or at least in the beginning when you wrote this song, if it's, I might become something I don't intend to as a result of my duty and obligation. Where are you finding yourself in that story today?
I don't know if you want me to bring up the times, but we have this thing going on right now that's causing the world to shut down. Yeah. And I am watching as my friends are getting so much more time with their kids. It's such a good thing to have that time, and people are actually bragging about the time they get with family, which is such a great thing in the midst of crisis. But I'm hearing family men say that this is such a special time. For me, I'm still pretty busy, so I'm not like getting that like pause yet. It's going nonstop. Like, so obviously construction, plumbing, people are always in need of it, especially when they're home. So I'm working longer hours than ever. But when I get home, when I wake up in the morning, when I make that cup of coffee, when I put that record on with my wife and sit there on the couch with all the kids in the same room, and I just watch them be, and they jump all over me, they spill my coffee on the couch, I get mad, but it's the moment, it's my favorite moment of the morning, favorite moment of the day, and I get to go home again at the end of the day and do something similar, but with a cocktail.
Yeah, come on, right? I guess my question then, Jeff, is what I hear you saying is you have a really values-based compass. And that compass, when it feels the magnetic pull towards true north for you, that is what I would define as things that make you wealthy that don't cost money. And yet you live in an environment that most of the world's compass is magnetically charged to point towards things that are not values based necessarily. So if spilling coffee on the couch and listening to records with your wife and friends, family, are what juice you up, and yet you have this duty, what I love about it is I think what you're describing is the plight of most of us, is for most of us that are conscious enough and aware that what the world has to offer isn't that great by itself. And there are some deeper things that are longer lasting and more eternal in matter. Then when we begin to orient our lives towards those things, it does create tension, because then you're out 12-hour days fixing sinks and backed up plumbing, and instead of more time on the couch listening to records. I got a request for you. How about Wrinkled Lines?
Oh, yeah. I would love to play that one for you. So the house that we live in was my grandma and grandpa's house. The room that we're recording in, like 3 feet from me, it was his chair. And this is the place that he sat. And when he sat in this chair and I was 16 years old, me and him were best friends. And I'd come over here and he'd always have Folgers brewing, and then, the powder creamer, mix it in. And I'd sit with him and he would tell me about how crazy politics is. And he could not hear anything. He would only read the newspaper, and we would just talk, and we would talk for hours. And I'd come back the next week and do the same thing again. And 2 years ago, he passed away, and it was a very, very hard loss. I feel his presence inside this house, and I thought on this album, I was like, I really want to write what I'm feeling about. And so this song came out. It is much more universal than I'm making it, but it came out of the thought that life is so fleeting, and why are we so afraid of being kind of the humans that we are, getting old, getting gray, getting wrinkled, getting ugly? Like, why don't we embrace that if we're all doing it? And so almost like a pride in it. So this is Wrinkled Lines. at all the lines on my face, deep and dry, show no trace of heaven. That's the way it's been. Getting old is not a sin. Why do you hold it in like heaven? That's the way it's been. You should look at the other side tonight. Say goodbye to all these wrinkled lines. All through the years and centuries, how can I not be pleased like heaven? That's the way it's been. I got hairs and I got moles, but I don't care, 'cause I've got souls like heaven. That's the way it's been. You should look at the other side tonight. Say goodbye to all these wrinkled lines. You should look at the other side tonight. Say goodbye to all these wrinkled lines. Whistling too like a bird, but I don't know why I'm scared of heaven. That's the way it's been. You should look at the other side tonight. Say goodbye to all these wrinkled lines. You should look at the other side tonight. Say goodbye to all these wrinkled lines.
So, Jeff, in your storytelling, what was it like for you to have Mitch Dane and crew help you bring these stories to life?
When I walked in and I saw what he has going, and I did research on him before to find out who this guy was that we're recording with, and found out that he was something to be reckoned with, and that I was only lucky to be able to walk through his doors.
Yeah.
And he accepted me like I was already a brother when I walked in, like I was a friend. I mean, he is incredibly kind and so friendly and soft-spoken. He is not this loud, boisterous personality that makes you feel like fake loved. It was warm love. And so I walk in, I see his whole studio. I see all of his microphones set up. I see all these musicians that are entering, getting their stuff set up. And Mitch is not ignoring me, but he has a job to do. And he's going to each musician, putting on microphones and checking their levels and not saying a word to me. I'm like a fly on the wall. I'm just standing up kind of like, what's going on? And nobody's asking me to check anything, but they're getting everybody else set up. And I had not been used to this before. I was used to being the conductor and running the orchestra. Like, everybody go here, go there, do this.
You mean the general contractor in you?
Yes. And Mitch was the conductor. And then at the very last moment, they said, okay, Jeff, here's your booth. Come on in, put the microphone. They put the guitar in my hand. They said, you ready to go? I was like that? Aren't we going to like do a sound check? They're like, let's just try it out. Let's just see what happens. And so I pulled the 20 songs that I'd brought, and I said, guys, let's try Wrinkled Lines. And I wanted to do Wrinkled Lines because it was a little bit like Neil Youngish. It had that feeling where you can just kind of like, the words drone. You could like drone on the acoustic and let everybody breathe a little bit. Let the pedal steel breathe and the drums breathe. And we did it. And I remember after the first take, I looked at Mitch, and Mitch looked at me like with this like wide eyes, like that was exactly what I wanted it to be. And I remember feeling inside very validated, because this person that is actually a musician for career looked at me and gave me kind of the approval, like, you're not a joke. You're not this guy that's just
this dude's for real.
Yeah, you're not this joke that's coming in to record an album with his plumbing money, and it's going to sound like awful. You know, he looked at me like that was what Nashville wants to hear right now, and that it was all in a look. And it was very validating.
So good. What tune do you want to play next?
I'm going to play Destinations Unknown. It's I guess I'll let it kind of define itself. Sometimes I'm annoyed with musicians that always explain what it is, so I better shut up.
Driving around, windows down, I can't make up my mind. Should I stay here? Should I go there? Should I just drive around? Destinations unknown. I can't keep from going. You and I go up to the snow, somewhere away and alone. We've been here before, away from the Lord. Now I must find a way home. Destinations unknown. I can't keep from going. Destinations unknown. I can't keep from going. Somewhere inside this intimate maze is the answer. I can't see clear when you are not here, it's so obvious. Is this how it ends? Will we still be friends? It's uncertain how we get to the destinations unknown. I can't keep from going. When everyone gone, it's you that I long to borrow your time and your words. He is with her, she is with him. Now we must make it alone. Destinations unknown. I can't keep from going. I can't keep from going.
So beautiful. How do you live with that song, live with these stories in you, and still show up and do the duty that's in front of you that involves a pipe wrench and a hammer and a clipboard and a spreadsheet when you're, I'm sure, equally, if not more gifted with the guitar?
Well, I think that the way I do it is a song and a lyric and a thought is going through your mind all day, no matter what you're doing. So if my plight is to work as a plumber until I'm retired, then when I'm under a house, when I am in an attic, when I am waist deep in the wrong kind of thing, I'm going to be thinking about words. I'm going to be thinking about my situation. I'm going to be thinking about other people's situations. And it's going to inspire me always to write and to put things down on paper. And the way I do it when it's all like, so the thoughts run through all day. I'm not one of those guys that writes lyrics down in a journal during the middle of the day, like I'm walking around. I let the thoughts brew and brew and brew and brew. And then when I actually have time to grab a pen and put paper and a guitar in my hand, because writing happens with all of it together. The guitar has to be against my chest. I have to be playing. I have to be writing at the same time. I can't do like the guitar part and this lyric part. It has to be all the same. And I just go through my days, my weeks, my years, and I think I can play the guitar and I can hear the story just with what the strings are doing. So I hear the story that's supposed to be told, even if it's in the same key as other songs that I've written. At that time, I hear like a color, or I see a color, I hear a story, I hear a word. It's usually like one word that branches off into a bunch. And they are all in that well of thoughts that goes on every day that just gets stored in a bag.
So how is your life as a plumber, general contractor, actually serving you as a musician?
Financially, like I work to do a lot more than be a musician, but this record, I had to be the label with a friend of mine. And we both, I mean, I don't know actually for him, but for me, it was the most I've ever spent on something, on production, on studio, on mastering, on mixing, on the things that I did myself. I realized, okay, well, then my construction career is going to pay for that recording. And it looked at first like the construction paid for microphones and gear and me learning how to record and do the thing. 10 albums deep, just recording myself, always upping my game. And I thought, this next one, it's got to be special. It's got to be something different. And because I've never had this long of a period of stagnancy, and I need to actually do something special with the amount of time that took to write these 20 songs is a lot longer than all the other ones. I was releasing like an album or two a year because I was like, well, there's nobody stopping me. There's no deadlines. The reason construction has been so good is it gives me enough to live on. And this last year, it given me enough to actually invest in an album and like spend. So to give you like a little bit of insight, the first album that I did was $800. It was microphone and some software, but I already had the computer. Then the next album was about $1,500. Bought a new microphone, just one microphone for $1,500. I was like, this is going to be it. So it just kept doing that until I got to like the 10th album, and I had spent $4,000. And that was partly marketing. That was partly recording. That was partly paying musicians to record with me, buying new gear. This album was $25,000. And so like, I looked at it and I was like, I first don't think I could spend that, but I thought, why not? Like, why not spend that? And obviously I split it with somebody, but I was like, why not spend that and make a great product? And that is why Mitch Dane was a part of the picture.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have this theory about this tension of work.
Mm-hmm.
I've met a number of people who made it, and whatever it was they were longing to do, wanted to do, and then now are doing it full time. So call it musician, call it writer, call it entrepreneur, whatever it may be. And they miss the tension that they used to live with, because while they were doing their version of plumbing, they were thinking about it all day long. So you said you write, you hear music, and you're writing as you're going about your duty in your day job. And then you come home, your wife's taking a nap, and you go find a quiet spot to assume the position with guitar and pen and start following the words. So what I've learned, in the same being true for me, is because of that tension of all day long, looking forward to it, longing for it, it actually is creating art inside of me during the day.
You're right.
That is longing for a place to have expression. And then the people that I've met that actually have arrived, whatever we might perceive that to be, is that they miss that tension. Because now all they have all day long is now actually the pressure to, oh, now I'm a musician. That means I've got to create a bunch of music. And then they turn up with tons of freedom on their schedule. And the freedom is actually a new struggle for them. Because now that I'm a full-time writer, or I'm a full-time consultant, or I'm a full-time whatever it is, man, I really miss just being underneath the house, trying to figure out, or in the attic, what the hell to do with A, B, and C. But all the while, there was something marinating and stewing in me. And so what I've learned to do is to embrace the tension with gratitude of, I'm so glad I'm not a full-time writer, because I think it would actually scare the crap out of me if that's the pressure then, versus I'm figuring out how to be a writer in the minuscule margins I can piece together in the breadcrumb moments of my life. But then all the other time I'm gathering material, always like there's always a story in me. So I was on a run with a buddy yesterday, and he was asking me what my day was like. And I was telling him, and I said, well, this happened, and this call, and this leader, and this executive, and this thing. And I said, I'm writing my next book. He goes, oh, really, already? And I said, no, but I am, because stuff happened today that I'm cataloging. That had I been home, stuck at my desk with a blinking cursor saying, what are you going to write? What are you going to write? I wouldn't have anything to put on the paper comparatively to being on the journey yesterday. And I was doing some things that were still meaningful to me, but maybe not all that I have envisioned I would have liked to have done yesterday. But the material I was gathering was like, this is like primary research. This is how you write a great book or a great song. So my suggestion, my invitation for us both is what might be possible for us when we embrace the tension. And then we have these funding partners. Yours is a construction company and a plumbing. Mine's a consulting gig that I have.
So that's a good way of looking at it.
They fund the cool stuff that you just produced, this cool album, that had it not been for your funding partner called your plumbing job and GC general contracting job, you couldn't have funded it. So how rad that these two are in partnership with each other. And by embracing that partnership, what I've just discovered is a whole lot more freedom in the moment to really love and enjoy what I'm doing, versus feeling angst over what I'm not able to do, that I just wish I could, like A, B, and C, or so-and-so that I compare myself to. So I know that's a long riff.
No, it's a good riff. I think that I feel very strongly the same sentiment, because I sometimes wish for something different. But then when I think, like you said, what not having it offers you in terms of information and drive and desire. It's almost a way of saying it keeps it completely pure.
Totally,
because,
it's invaluable. Like think of bands that you love, and their breakout album is so amazing. And you're like, where have these guys been? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then album 2 and 3 later, after they made it, is crap. And I'm like, you know what happened? They got fat. It's like one of those Rocky movies. You know?
Totally.
It's like you forgot to train and you just were at photo shoots all day looking pretty versus in the locker room banging, cold meat at the freezer.
I know. There's something that is so pretty about ugly.
I love it.
And I was going to say, I think that it also, like what you were saying, leads to like that blinking cursor. And when that's on the page, I've learned that you move forward by not being afraid to fail. And whenever I write a song, I think to myself, you know what? If I don't start putting words on a piece of paper, I need to write a bad song right now. It needs to be something. I wrote a song before heading to Nashville called Ben the Druggie. And it was because I was just playing the guitar and I needed to write a song. And it was honestly the worst song I've ever written in my whole life. But it led to writing another one and another one and another one that ended up sticking and staying. And so you have to be willing to have that ugly duckling like roaming around, and it needs to be there. And so to me, obviously I don't have this big company coming after me saying, hey, we got to sell this many, we have to do this. I can do whatever I want. It allows me to fail a lot more and be my own filter. A friend of mine, Simon, was telling me, Jeff, don't ever be afraid of all the failures that like you may think you're having with writing music and it's not hitting that like radio chart thing or the thing that you think you want it to be. Because think about how much good music's going to come in all those years. Like say you turn 50 or 60 and it still hasn't happened. He goes, can you imagine if you keep writing all the way until that age, how many pieces you'll be able to have? And when you're 50 or 60, you're still young and you could still go play at a bar and you could still grab an acoustic guitar and a harmonica and go somewhere and you'll have, and he explained it. He painted a utopian picture to me of like, that's the most pure version of music that I have heard somebody say, and I have been hoping for something different, and it made me recheck my steps and say, no, back up. This is very good. Being small and being unknown is a very good, pure thing, and I'll fight it sometimes. I'll fight it a lot.
Well, bring us pure and unknown right now.
Last Night with You.
This morning to a terrible sight. Looked in the mirror and things were not right. My body had bruises, my eyes were red. I felt there'd been a knife in my head. Whiskey mixed with vermouth. Words last night were very uncouth. Feeling so guilty for things that I said. Next time I see her, I hope I am dead. A moment of memory, sometime forever. A feeling I have when we're together. that guiltiness that I describe. There this morning because I am by. Together we talk, we eat, we drink. When I am with you, I don't have to think. A moment of memory, sometime forever. A feeling I have when we're together. A moment of memory, sometime forever. A feeling I have when we're together. Nobody else knows all of my sins. You drink whiskey and I drink gin. Although we're different, we're one and the same. Solitude, our version of fame. Moment of memory, sometime forever. A feeling I have when we're together. A moment of memory, sometime forever. A feeling I have when we're together.
Brother, my favorite line so far today, solitude, our version of fame.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a good line.
Thank you very, very much. That's, I think that actually describes exactly what you were saying. What you were leading into with getting there is, man, why do we need to be known? Why can't we just enjoy that tension and that craft that we're doing by ourselves? Because aren't we doing it for us, or are we only doing it for others? And I think that I'm writing music for me is filling a void that gives me a ton of happiness, and I need it to be filled.
I met with a friend of mine. She was talking about starting a podcast, and the question I asked her was, what will you do with all that energy if you don't? She'd been in consulting for years and years, and a lot of high profile people. So a lot of access to people whose stories people would be compelled to want to listen to. And so she was just kind of belaboring, like, I don't know if I will, I don't know if I won't. And I just said, the do or don't, that is a decision you have to make. But I feel like the better choice is to ask, well, can I make this go away in me?
Mm-hmm.
Can I turn down the volume on it? Can I take enough antacid to relieve the pains, the reflux? And if you can, great. Then that's a choice. If you can't make it go away, then the next best decision you have and choice to make is, what will I do with it?
It is so nice to shut down the work world for a little bit and actually be a musician with a fellow creator and understand that there are a lot of other people out there doing this similar style of life. And it's very inspiring.